6 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. All board members are present. First up is the review and approval of the November 25th public meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept November 25th, 2025 public meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion a second. Get the second. All those in favor of the motion, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes accepted. Our next meeting at the moment is January 13th at the Belmont Middle School. Subject change of orders. All right. It's you want to speak here? Not really on the agenda, but we do have a presentation. Canterbury Elementary School students. So you can come up.
Hi, everyone. I have Mrs. Week, one of our 2 kindergarten teachers, and she is the advisor of our student council. And she's here with 3 of our students to share a little bit with you about our senior citizen luncheon, which we do every year. It's an annual tradition.
Thank you, Mrs. Chubb.
Turn it over to that.
So first of all, I just want to thank you for inviting us. And also, these young ladies are very busy. These are some of our 3rd graders. And between the time that they left school, the time they've arrived here, they've been to basketball, dance, and gymnastics. So they're very well-rounded. We have 15 members of our student council, and every year we've put on a senior citizen luncheon for the seniors in town. And before we go any further too, I just want to make a big appreciation to Nancy Kate, who's our food service director, who stepped in a pinch and helped us to carry this forward this year as well. So big thanks to her. So I'm going to turn it over to the girls to share their experience. And we're going to read in a nice loud voice.
We had the Senior Citizen Thanksgiving luncheon in our school library on November 19th. To get ready for it, we made invitations to be mailed to guests. Invitations were also sent by town newsletter and town email. Senior citizens then called the school to RSVP. We learned how to host and serve and got some helpful tips from the 4th grade student council members who hosted last year. The luncheon was open for senior citizens in Canterbury. We had 43 guests who came. Kindergarten and 1st grade made everyone a turkey card to wish a happy Thanksgiving, and these were put at each place setting. The computer club members also made their own cards, which were given to our guests. We made vases of fall flowers for each table. The person sitting at the placemat, which had a pumpkin sticker on it, won flowers to take home with them. Many students had grandparents who attended. The 15 members of our student council were hosts and greeted our guests when they arrived. Teams of 2 worked together to serve drinks and soup for each table. When it was time to serve the main meal, we worked together to bring full plates to each table, serving 1 complete table at a time, and serving ladies before gentlemen at the table. The meal we started with a choice of apple cider from Apple Hill Farm, water, coffee, or tea. This was followed by butternut squash soup and a slow turkey meal. The meal was turkey and gravy, mashed potato, corn, stuffing, cranberry sauce, and breadsticks. The dessert was apple crisp with whipped cream. Mrs. Bell, Mrs. Blanchett, and Dr. Stearns helped us by filling the plates for everyone at the serving table, and then we brought the plates to our guests. While the guests were eating their meal, both kindergarten and 1st grade classes came and sang for the entertainment. Miss Hebert and Mrs. Weeks kindergarten class each sang several Thanksgiving songs. Miss Macaulay, 1st grade class, brought their paper bag turkeys creations and sang Albuquerque Turkey. Miss Colette's class sang a Hawaiian Thanksgiving song and passed our colorful flags to all the guests. A few days before the luncheon, one of the friends for our guest, Mary, called to the school and told us that Mary was turning 95 in a couple of days and asked if the students could sing her happy birthday to her. The kindergarten and first grade class all signed a birthday card for her, and near the end of the luncheon, the younger students were joined by the student council members and the rest of the guests and to sing happy birthday to Mary and wish her a happy 95th birthday. When the luncheon was over, all the student council members said goodbye to the guests and wished them happy Thanksgiving.
And this was your first year to do the senior citizen luncheon. So could we each share one thing that we enjoyed the most about being part of the host? So Madeline, what did you enjoy?
The thing I enjoyed most was serving the guests.
Yes, and Leah, how about you?
The thing I enjoyed most was serving the guests when
Doing your drinks. And Gigi, what did you enjoy the most?
I enjoyed the best eating apple crisp.
They did have a very yummy dessert, right? We were smelling that all throughout the meal, right? We have put together some posters because pictures say 1,000 words. We're going to take that out with us to take a picture with them, but then I'll leave it here. So please, before you go home tonight, take a look. Mary's there with her flowers and her birthday card and all, and it's just really amazing to see all our youngest learners and our oldest learners working together. We had 43 guests this year, so it was really a wonderful experience. So thank you very much for your time. We hope you have a great evening.
Thank you.
All right. So next up, I do think we have a discussion regarding negotiations. So, motion.
Take it.
Can I do a recess and a reconvene or?
Yep.
We have to, is there like another room? Oh.
Michael, we go into public communication first.
Sure.
Public communication correspondence. Anybody who wishes to speak? Now, okay, great time. We'll have another opportunity at the end of the meeting as well. All right.
Make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the SREA regarding Article 8-G severance and Article 8-M for separation.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of the motion, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll abstain. All right. Next up on the agenda are board member reports. Do you have anything?
Was able to see a bunch of basketball this weekend. That was nice.
The only thing I have to bring up for the reports, I have received a complaint about the buses again. Specifically, the notice that parents are given when buses are available. They're cutting it really close to like the deadline where parents have to say on the app that they're gonna pick up their kids. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, one of the notices came in like 15 minutes before that deadline, if I remember correctly. So I don't know if that's something that you might, Mr. Torsi, discuss with them about letting parents have a little more leeway knowing when the buses aren't going to be available.
Keep trying.
Do you have an example of
If I'm remembering correctly, one cancellation where they notified parents was like 15 minutes before the parents had to say on the app that they were gonna pick up their kids from school. So it's,
And it's technically after when the middle school was to say. Middle school earlier.
can you speak up? You can't hear.
So the only other thing I would add is I was able to take part in a webinar or listen to a webinar about open enrollment last Thursday. I will forward the board some notes from that. But I also got an email today with slides from that, so I'll forward that to the board just so they can. Sounds like and Barry Christina was one of the people that was discussing at that webinar this topic, and they believe that some boards are going to vote at their March meeting to open enrollment. They also feel like some towns it's going to be a petition warrant article. So it's really kind of a mess as far as what it means, what towns are doing, what school districts are doing. But I'll pass that information along. It's pretty helpful discussion.
I actually was gonna bring it up to policy, but I can bring it here now. I wondered, Michael, if we should be looking at it as policy, because I've been receiving some information as well about open enrollment and whether or not we should have a policy. If we have a policy, we can set the number of students allowed to do open enrollment and how many that come in. But by not having a policy, it's my understanding that we could be on the hook for anyone
Yes.
choosing.
So my understanding, again, we all have our understandings based on what we've heard. You ask legal counsel, you're going to get different opinions on this across the state. Bottom line, you would, my understanding is you would put together a warrant article requesting for Belmont and Canterbury to be considered open enrollment or Shaper Regional to be open enrollment. And then you would set a policy as to the number of students that would be able to leave the district to go to other schools. So the first thing would be to establish yourself as an open enrollment school district, and then you would set a policy at that point.
Yeah, my impression is the policy can't be
Before the
enacted until the district votes on the open enrollment.
I personally feel that things need to work out for at least a year because there are a lot of questions around this, and to jump the gun on doing this, I think we need to see how things somewhat play out. That's just my own personal opinion, but I'd be more than happy to work with the board if you're looking to put together a warrant article around open enrollment.
So Sean, did they have any discussion or I don't want to say recommendation on what Michelle was talking about with if you say yes to open enrollment, but then limit who can come in and who can go out? I mean, was there any discussion?
The only discussion was, yeah, it makes sense, but if a court decides it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter. So I think the feedback I got was there's still so much in doubt. The court's making the decision on that Pittsfield case that basically creating legislation that didn't exist.
Right.
Correct.
So even those policies where you're establishing that, say 0 students can leave the district, those will be challenged in court. There's already a court case that's been decided upon that says, school districts are still on the hook for that money regardless of whether you do have a policy in place or not. So it's really all still in the air. I was thinking that we hold off till not this March, but the following March to really get a better understanding of open enrollment in our state, how it works, so that when we're taking the time to go to the voters, potentially with a warrant article, we can answer all the questions that would come up, because right now we couldn't answer those questions, and that puts us in a bad position when we want to be transparent with our residents of Canterbury and the Belmont. Just not prepared to answer any questions to the degree that it's going to be helpful for somebody that might ask them.
All right. Next on the agenda is the permission to travel for the French Club. Action item.
I'll make a motion to, accept or give permission to travel for BHS French Club and future leaders of America to the club trip to Ottawa, Montreal, Canada.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion do so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, we are up to the budget development piece of the agenda. So advisory folks, come on up. Michael, do you want to set the order of how I talk? Who's talking?
Sure.
I feel like an explanation of the motion you had earlier.
Yeah, so the motion that was made earlier and approved by the board was an agreement with the Shaker Regional Education Association to extend the deadline for teachers and anyone that falls under that collective bargaining agreement to put in notice for retiring from the district in order to qualify for separation and severance. Original deadline's October 15th. This extends it out to this Friday. So there could be additional staff that might put in for retirement, which could impact the budget depending on what the board wants to do with it.
Which means we may likely meet next week as well. So I want to put that on everybody's radar.
So this evening, I know that there are a few people that would like to provide the board and the advisory budget committee with some information. We're fortunate to have Henry and Alicia here this evening as our school board reps that I know want to have a few comments. We also have Aaron Chubb, our principal at CES, that would like to provide some information. Ben Hill, our principal from Belmont Elementary School, provides some information. And Mr. Finch, our principal from the high school, provides some information. So you're going to get some information new to you this evening that can help keep you informed when we're talking about getting to a point of finalizing the budget. So I think I'd let Henry and Alicia go first, and then we would ask Mrs. Chubb to come up, and then Mr. Hill, and then Mr. Finch.
I would like to start off by saying cutting the school budget, especially by reducing the number of teachers, will lead to larger class sizes.
There you go. Speak up.
Thanks.
When classrooms have 30 or more students, teachers are unable to give students the attention they need. This lowers the overall quality of education, making it harder for students to succeed and increases stress for both teachers and the students. And then in addition to that, budget cuts can have long-lasting effects beyond the classroom. If taxes increase to make up for funding gaps, people may choose to move out of town, but at the same time, families who value education may also leave if class sizes continue to grow and quality of learning declines. A strong school system is one of the main reasons families choose to live in a community, and weakening could hurt enrollment and property values. And instead of cutting the education budget, we should be investing in schools. Supporting teachers, maintaining reasonable class sizes, and providing students with the resources they need helps ensure a better future for our towns. Strong schools create stronger communities. And I'd also like to mention that cutting teachers will take away the opportunity to take electives throughout the school year. With one less teacher in each department, core classes will become harder to get. And if a class is offered twice right now in a semester, it would be likely that these cuts would make it so that class is only offered once in a semester. And if someone wanted to take an elective during that time, they wouldn't be able to because they need to get the core classes to graduate. And I'd also like to mention that I see these cuts not only affect the students of the high school, but also the middle and elementary schools. I saw on the proposed operational cuts that the lab teachers at the middle school could also be cut. This role was introduced to raise test scores in English and math, and they have done this job, but eliminating this position would make these scores lower. In my own experience, with the English lab, which was one of the most impactful English classes I've ever had, I got incredible feedback on my essays for grammar and material, and then many students along with me have struggled with math. In Mr. LeBlanc's class, it was very helpful and taught us real world skills like the process, what the process looks like to trade in the stock market, and also it gave me extra help when I struggled in math. These positions are crucial to the education of the children in the towns of Belmont and Canterbury. Then I'd also like to add, these are not just like this isn't just how I feel, this is how many students that I've talked to about the budget cuts at the high school feel.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have anything written, and truly there's nothing I can say that Henry already hasn't. Of course, moving teachers around limits the classes we as students can take. And I know for one, I'm already facing a couple struggles with the flexibility. For example, this year, I was not able to take another French class because it just wouldn't fit my schedule. And I think everyone deserves a chance to do what they want to do. And like Henry said, large classes don't allow for students to get enough help and for teachers to get enough help. The ELA and math labs are crucial. And we want people to stay here in BHS. We don't want anyone to have to leave to get what they need to get to graduate.
Thank you. Questions? Questions?
So we'd ask Mrs. Chubb to come on up. I know she wants to speak specifically about the instructional coach positions.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me some of your time. I have put a report in everybody's spot where you're sitting that outlines some points regarding the need to keep the instructional coach in place at Shaker Regional School District. The beauty of this position is that this individual has a district-wide view of instructional practices from K to 12 and has a really clear sense of the learning progression that a student goes through in their time at Shaker. In this regard, that person is working with teachers to improve their practices, to help them have the newest, most up-to-date resources and opportunities for learners. In these last couple of years as a district and as elementary schools, we have shifted to approaching teaching reading from a science of reading perspective. And that was a shift for teachers. And that coach was able to support teachers with that shift and that implementation. We are now at the point where we are in year one of implementation of Wit and Wisdom. And that's that reading program that we piloted last year. It's very different than programs and resources we've worked with in the past. So as I outlined here, and I won't belabor the point by reading all this, but it's a heavy lift. It's a big shift. And there's different resources, there's different instructional practices, and having someone who can work with teachers to guide them and support them with implementation really makes a difference for our students. We're seeing it this year because so many teachers piloted last year that they are coming in this year with a little more confidence, and they're refining their practices, and they're having that opportunity because they're having meetings and coaching with Dr. Stearns. And it really makes a difference for them. It's also really helpful for them because this is someone who is working with them as more of a colleague level, not someone who's evaluating them or, for lack of a better word, judging their performance. So this opportunity to work with someone who will model a lesson so the teacher can observe and see it in action with their students, and then debrief after. Things like that are really powerful, and we would lose that thread if you eliminate this position. We also have this opportunity with math. Eureka Math, also known as Engage New York, is another program that is a little different, a lot different than how we've been teaching and how certainly we've learned math skills. The instructional practices differ, and it's been so helpful these last few years having someone that can onboard new staff, because so many people come in and they haven't seen this manner of teaching, and it gets them jump started so they can be successful and impact students positively. But also for veteran teachers who want to hear what the updates are and what the changes are so that they can stay abreast of the best practices. So it's really been really helpful for our school especially. And I come to you tonight because I had teachers within my school approach me and say, we're concerned. And I said that I would speak on their behalf. Dr. Punton is at a conference this week, so we did consult on this. We did work on this together. You'll see that she signed it as well, but that is why she's not present tonight. The last thing I want to share is that even though currently this position is really focused more on elementary, it does have an overall district benefit. And if we eliminate it, that's going to make it really hard for us to maintain that consistency across K-12. Questions?
I have one. Given the workload, do you see this coach as working mainly with grade level teams, like all the teachers who teach grade 4, or more so individuals?
Both is happening. CES is very unique. So I didn't speak to it, but I wrote in here about professional learning communities, or PLCs. Typically at other schools, that's a grade level or a content area. At CES, we meet together as a full team. So it's really nice because K-4, many years K-5, and special education are part of that in one meeting together. And that allows us to really work on the progression from grade to grade to grade to build that consistency. And for teachers to say, hey, what can I be doing at 2nd grade that's going to help set your kiddos up for success in 3rd grade, and so on. And we really take a look at data and how we can use it to shift our instruction. And those opportunities are carved out because we have that resource.
So are there metrics to measure that you're getting what you say you're getting for this position?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer. It's a little harder than some of the other ones.
The other question I have with this position, you talked about this in previous years. When there's a change in instruction material, or you're going to go grab the latest software, whatever, for some of the STEM classes, whatever. And we talked about the adoption of teachers being able to pick that up and incorporate in the classrooms. Is this position fulfilling part of that role, et cetera?
Yes, absolutely.
She's definitely the go-to person. So, for example, we give STAR assessment, we give IXL assessment. So the individual in this position is helping us to make sense of the data, to make instructional decisions that would guide next steps because of the data, and the basic troubleshooting of I got locked out, or I'm not really sure how to interpret this. Like across the board, it's really helpful.
So my suggestion for the board to consider, and it's easy to say, but it takes some thought, is putting some metrics in place at some level where you're measuring if you're getting what you're paying for. So one thing that comes to mind is new techniques come out, or this person, I don't know how they stay in touch with the latest and greatest to bring it back into the staff.
Well, right now they're currently at that conference. Yeah, the two of them, the director of curriculum and instruction and the instructional coach are both at this conference together right now.
Yeah, so
their own PD is a big part of it.
Did we have another question?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, but can you finish? Do you have more stuff?
No, I'm done.
Oh, okay.
We'll let everybody go around if you have more questions here.
Yeah, just, I was just trying to verify that this is like a full position with benefits, and it looks like it is. I think the reason it kind of came up in discussion is because they don't have like direct student time, and we're trying to reduce the, people that don't have as much face time. We start to look at a little more. I love that you're doing the peer community thing. I think that's awesome, and I would hope that even if the position was eliminated, that that's still something that you guys can do, because it's a great way for teachers to talk. Is there an opportunity for the head of the curriculum, that position, to take on some of this work? Because I'm not familiar really with what.
Yeah.
When a new curricula is adopted, like you cited, like the math one,
Mhm.
is the head of the curricula, the director of curriculum, able to help fill some of that role in transitioning?
So I want to speak to 2 points that you.
It's my ignorance.
So one, no, it's great. It's great to have the question. So as far as the time with students, it's definitely different than a classroom teacher or a music teacher or something like that. But there's definitely face time with students. So one example I gave you, or it was teaching and modeling a lesson. They would come in and they would be the one that teaches that lesson to the class so that the teacher can observe and learn strategies, and then they would debrief after. So that is some direct time with learners. And students have definitely developed a relationship with the instructional coach. I'm sure it's used differently across the different schools. I can only speak to my own setting. But there's definitely a lot of interaction with students in that regard. As far as the position, I mean, we have a director of curriculum and instruction, and we have an instructional coach. So we have 2 people for 4 schools. I can imagine that some things would get lost with losing a full-time position, but Michael is the director of curriculum and instruction supervisor, not me. So he would have to work that out.
Yeah, so to your point, the director of curriculum instruction has an administrative role, and the instructional design coach is the one that is working directly. Both work directly with staff, and they work together as a team, and they develop plans as to how to bring that professional development, either as individualized or by grade level or department level. So they work as a team. So you would be cutting that team in half, providing that professional development for our staff. And that's not something that a director of curriculum instruction would be able to pick up that full weight of that other full-time position.
Yeah.
And carry out the same quality of.
Speaking of
professional
complete
development.
ignorance, like there's a position and somebody has benefits, and it's I'm assuming 40 hours a week. I could totally see value in, teacher workshop days or professional development time. Like, it seems like that's a good Lego plugin. But like, just from a member of the community and not knowing much about it, like what happens all the other hours, you know what I mean? Like, I could see where there's a lot of interaction with teachers, but there's a lot of time where the teachers are busy doing other stuff, where we're paying this person for a full-time position. So again, it's just my ignorance. And I'm not asking you to defend the position. I'm just trying to explain that that's a hard position to explain to some people sometimes, that's all. I'm not asking for you to defend it. I'm just
Yeah, I
saying that
understand what you're
it's
saying.
tricky to understand from the outside, that's all.
And it's a hard one to quantify, metrics and impact.
I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak before we go back and make the second start.
I have one question.
Sure.
Because it's a district-wide position. I
Yes.
appreciate that you're speaking on his behalf, but how much time in each building does this person spend?
It differs based on the needs, I think.
It's heavily weighted at the elementary
Yeah.
level.
So is it a good 50-50? Is she here half the week?
That
Most of the
varies,
week?
Tracy. So her schedule varies throughout the week, but it's heavily weighted on the elementary side, particularly because the implementation of a new math and English language arts program.
Okay.
But we are seeing more time being spent in the high school as well as the middle school
Where is she housed? Maybe that
at the
gets
SAU office.
Yes.
Yep. Her and the director of curriculum instruction share an office upstairs.
Thank you.
Anyone that has not spoken?
I'd just like to add something. Just because a staff member doesn't always have direct face time with a student or other staff members, they do have time where they're planning their things. I mean, when a teacher has their prep block, they're not with students, but they're getting paid for that time because they're grading papers and doing that stuff. And I mean, I don't know the exact things the instructional design coach does, but I'm sure they're using their time not with teachers or students prepping for these things. Also, I'd like to know where all this FaceTime stuff comes from because, again, I see positions in the school matter that don't always get FaceTime with students. So I just like to know lots of.
Yeah, I think because we don't have a magic money pit, right? Like, there's no rainbow and a pot of gold at the end, so we have like finite resources, and then it just as grown-ups, like we have to pay the electric bill and pay for our vehicles. I've been out of work for a year, right? And I just sold my van this week. Like, money gets really tough, and so we have to look, and everybody has a different temperature gauge or metrics they take. And for me, one is kind of like, well, how much face time does this person have as students? Because nobody wants students to be hurt. I don't want students to be hurt. I don't want staff to be hurt. But unless, this is the carving the turkey approach. We're going to whittle it away until we just have bones left to make stock. That's what this is. And another avenue might be to think of ways that we can bring in revenue, so that we don't have to cut positions and fight over $15,000 here, $100,000 there. So we either have to make cuts or increase taxes or find new ways to bring money in, and that's why I'm trying to bring to the discussion. But if we're forced into cuts, I'm interested in, well, how much face time does this have with a student? Because that's the only thing I have. For me, for my value system, that is something that feels okay to me. But everybody's different.
Anyone who has not spoken?
So I'm thinking about this. If I remember correctly, we were looking, a couple of us, at the overall performance, at the proficiency level, specifically for high school, not on math. But if I remember correctly, some of the trends were still moving in a downward direction. The explanation for the curriculum coordinator, I don't know if it's this position or not, what she's told, well, we're average for the state. So a couple of us talked after the meeting, and it's like, well, as parents, town people and stuff, how do we feel about that? The answer would be some of the numbers. The answer's not very good. What I'm trying to understand is looking at that and saying, okay, where do we want to head? I don't know about this position, how it fits in, but thinking about the metrics is if you're going to go implement or provide coaching, whatever, that you measure, you better move the needle where we start to see that trend improve on proficiency, say in math and English. It's not to put this particular person in a limelight and say we're going to grade their position, but if you're going to spend the money on this, I would think it should start being reflected in reversing the trends that I saw, if I understood them correctly. Shaker website.
I think I just want to respond. I think that I would want us to approve careful about test scores, particularly at the high school. My children were very high achieving and were terrible on the SATs. I'm sure they'll love to say this, but they don't. So all I'm saying is it's one piece of the puzzle, particularly when you're looking at SATs at high school. So I don't disagree that we should look at improving our test scores across the entire district. But I think we have to take it with a grain of salt in terms of the whole picture of the whole student. So that, I just want us to be careful.
I agree, and it's not one position that moves the needle. It's a team effort. And when you start taking people off that team, you start impacting moving that needle. And we are showing improvement in our test scores. That was demonstrated in our last presentation by our Director of Curriculum Instruction. We're seeing that across the majority of our grade levels, including the high school. So we are improving, and it's a team effort. It's not, you can't pin it on one position.
I wasn't getting it on one position.
I'm just saying that we are talking about one position. Therefore, you start talking about metrics, you're not going to be able to determine a metric on one position impacting student achievement when there's multiple staff members that work with those students in order for them to succeed.
How many teachers are in the district?
Our teaching staff, our certified teaching staff, I don't know that number right off the bat. We're close to 300 employees in the district.
All right, so let's say just for
75%.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So if I heard this correctly, the instructional design coach will go in and teach lessons, and then the staff observes, and then they kind of debrief.
That's part of it.
Yeah, in addition to other things. So one person can't do all of that.
Right.
Maybe we should be, based on the discussion I'm hearing, looking to add more if we want to, increase test scores throughout the district. Sounds like we could use more of this service.
But I think, Randy, again, I'm not picking on one position, but you're 100% right.
You bring up a great point about and I know we're not supposed to use test scores, but if that's what we gauge success at, we should invest in what's there.
My only point is, and maybe it's not a budget discussion, but if you're going to target improvement in areas, how do you measure if what you tried to do worked? It's not picking on a person or anything. That's where I was coming at it with my metrics.
And that is actually part of our PLC process, the professional learning community. So if it's helpful, I can explain a little bit about that.
I wouldn't take the time for the board.
Okay.
I don't know if the board is any kind of report. This was our plan in this area. We identified we want to improve. Here's the steps we're going to take. How do we measure did they work?
And that's what we do in PLC. We do that as a staff.
That gets presented periodically to the board.
And we've established metrics on our strategic plan, our key performance indicators, which also include state testing as well as high school articulation for postgraduate plans. So we do have metrics that we are measuring.
Other feedback, questions for?
Just one quick feedback. As far as metrics, all learners are different. My metric or information that I would have liked on this was I would have liked to maybe seen this person's schedule and say, hey, look, this person was in 20 different classes this week, and these are the different things she tackled. I know it's hard to do that, but if this person is 95% in BES and not the rest of the district, then it's not really a district employee. Same with if it's in any one other building, even if that's the piece of information that for my question I'm missing is where this person is, who's utilizing her, because not everyone may be. And to kind of look at the utilization, who's utilizing the tool we're offering as opposed to test scores from the kids.
Yeah.
I just had a quick comment regarding Henry's comment and Jennifer's. I wouldn't take FaceTime as the absolute measure of success, or whatever the case may be. I know it's a speech path in the school districts that I've worked in. I sometimes heard that comment, oh, the speech teacher's not taking students right now. She's not doing anything. But there's a lot behind the scenes, like Henry was saying, with the testing and measurements and others. And so I can see how this coach might be doing research or other behind the scene aspects that you wouldn't always have FaceTime with students.
All right. Any other feedback or questions?
I just want to thank you for hearing me out. Like I said, I decided to come your way because teachers came my way. And I heard from them how helpful this position is in supporting them and their students. And to me, having an instructional coach and keeping our curriculum as fresh as possible, as consistent across grade levels as possible, is what is going to help us continue to make good growth with things like scores and student progress over time. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we have Mr. Hill up next.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. While you were gone, Mrs. Chubb and I shared some information with you. We prepared a report, the request to reconsider the PE teacher status. So that's a report that we shared with you. And then we also shared visuals of our Unified Arts schedules and how it's structured. A couple of key points I'll share with you, and then obviously you can read the report. But since we started with full day kindergarten, the number of Unified Arts classes to teach has expanded. So we now have 28 blocks weekly, 28 classes that have to be taught weekly, 20 at BES and 8 at CES. The 20 blocks at BES all cover a general classroom teacher's prep period, which is required contractually. So from a BES perspective, I need a PE teacher for 20 blocks, I need an art teacher for 20 blocks, and so forth. And so I got together with Mrs. Chubb and I said, just considering what was put on the table, here's what I can do. And when I presented that to her, you know, if the PE teacher came to Canterbury for the other 20% of their time, Canterbury also has 5 blocks in a day when the PE teacher can teach, but they have 8 classes to teach. So 6 of those 8 classes would have to double up to make it possible. And Erin can explain a little bit more about her schedule, but in discussion, she couldn't guarantee that she could make that work because of the way her special schedule works. And she couldn't guarantee that, like, kindergarten would be with kindergarten. It could be likely to be anything cross grade level.
Yeah.
So we just want to make sure you understood that there's a significant impact on students here, and probably an inequity issue. There are also significant issues from the perspective of the teacher, which I shared in the report. One thing I think is important to bring up, and I think Alice may have brought it up at the last meeting, was that the reality is it's likely to lead to turnover. There's a very strong possibility, and I've shared information about that based on teachers that have come to us, teachers that have left us in my report, so I'll let you read that. Do you have anything you can add about your schedule, or want to take questions? Or
So as far as my schedule, it's the colorful one. This is what we had in place 2 years ago, the last time I had 5th grade present at CES. So you can see that this is what it would look like if we had 8, or what we had in place 2 years ago when we had 8 classes. And the 8th class is the 5th grade. The reason it looks like this is because I'm working with when people are in my building. None of them are full-time. So music, art, library, they're all part-time. So I have to plug things in based on when they're in the building. And as you can imagine, it's a really challenging puzzle piece to put together every summer when I work on it. And so what Ben alluded to regarding the fact that I may not be able to pull it off in one day is because of when other folks are in the building, and sometimes they're shared with other schools in the district, sometimes with other districts, I may not be able to have 5 distinct specials every day or unified arts every day because of when people are available. So sometimes when I look at a schedule or an option, I look at a class and go, oops, now they have 2 musics and no PE. They have 5 specials, that's the teacher needs that for their prep. But the way I just plugged that in, I can't make it work. So what I'm trying to explain is a 0.20%, it may not even be possible because of the fact that other specials have to be where they are. And I know it's hard to, I'm not explaining it well, but hopefully you get what I'm saying.
This was super helpful, seeing this. Thank you.
I mean, this is what we had in play 2 years ago. And nobody is less than 30% time except library, but she is an assistant. We would also have to figure in a prep time for the PE teacher, a lunch break, and travel time.
I'd like to mention something about the PE teacher. When I went here, I was a CES student. When I went here, I had a PE teacher who went from Canterbury to Belmont, and I felt like there was a detachment from like her getting to know us as students, because she even said to us like how she can't remember our names because she has like 400 students in Belmont and then us on top of that. And there was a very big disconnection I felt between us and our PE teacher, and that might not seem like much, but when it comes down to grading and stuff, if teachers don't know what student they're giving a grade to, how can they grade? That's just how I see it, how it was done when I was here.
Anything else?
So is this in play of having a conversation? See if we can bring it back, or what is the conversation?
I think to your question, Edgar, we're gonna have some people provide some information this evening, and then I'll bring you back to this sheet, which is it's an updated sheet from what we've been talking about for the budget.
Yeah, I mean, getting kind of late in the game, but I think we're trying to still gather information in order to make a decision.
Well, I feel like we've been making decisions without looking at the downstream impact, and now that's coming.
I think another important point from my perspective, I mean, to me, the student impact's the most important piece of this, right? I don't think you're aware of that. I don't think we even thought about that until it came up. It's a 0.06% impact on the budget, so it's super low, but it's creating some significant issues, so.
Questions? This is your chance. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have Mr. Finch.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, thank you, and I think everybody said this so far. Thank you for the opportunity to address the entire board and share a little bit more context and information. The report that I created for you was an effort to try to create a little bit more context for the consideration of eliminating positions at the high school. Just like Ben and Aaron have said, people have been coming to my office, having conversations, expressing significant concerns. That's not just faculty and staff. You're hearing, from 2 individual students now. Just so you're aware that, and I'm very proud of them for this, students are paying attention to every one of these meetings and every one of these conversations. The concerning aspect, that's the great part, right? The concerning part is that they keep coming to us because they're scared of what they're hearing. I try to break this up into 2 different sections, for consideration. One of which is past and future hiring and staffing concerns. Some of the positions that, I've had some conversation, some a little bit more than others. 2 to 3 years ago at the high school, we weren't able to hire some of these positions. We were starting school years down 2 math teachers. The next year we were down a science teacher. These are very challenging times to hire members or certified members of a faculty. There's openings everywhere. And there was, I believe it was here, I'm pretty sure it was in the library, there was an evening where we had a meeting where a comment was made that we have to find ways in our schools to make working at Belmont High School or BES or CES or BMS something that people want to do and commit to do, despite the fact that they are not going to make the most money with us. And we've done that. We've worked hard to create an environment where people want to work and they want to commit themselves to. So those positions that we were down just a couple of years ago, and even more challenging hiring times now, we have filled those. And we filled them with very quality individuals who are coming to us with experience from other locations. They're not coming to us completely green, although brand new teachers certainly have their merit as well and bring, fresh ideas and fresh perspectives as well. My concern with eliminating these positions that a couple of years ago we couldn't fill, it's not just going to have an impact on those individuals, it's also going to have a significant impact on us hiring positions moving forward. Because if these roles that are high demand, low supply, and the other principals and I, we go to colleges, we go to job fairs, we go to these different things, and our table, we're literally putting signs up and putting, maple salsa and stuff like that on tables, trying to get people to even come to talk to us because those rooms are full, but not of applicants. They are full of school after school after school, and you see the same subject areas over and over and over and over again across the board. So this is an incredibly challenging time to fill positions, and we're having conversations about eliminating when we have good people working with us now. And that is really concerning, and it's not just for me, it's our faculty, our staff, and our students continue to come and express those concerns. On the student side, and that was kind of the second section, the impact on students, one of the things that I'm most proud of in terms of what we do at the high school is we offer opportunities and personalization for students. And in my opinion, that's the most important couple of things that a high school is working toward. A high school student is very unique from any other kid that they're walking through the hallway with. We are the gateways to the rest of the world for these students. Literally, this is it. This is the last time that some of these students will ever be in a classroom setting. So we're trying to give them opportunities to explore things that are going to be personalized to them and give them opportunities. We try to give them opportunities to go to the Hewitt Center or the Wick Center. We try to give them in-house opportunities and different electives so they can explore passions and decide what they want to do for the next 60 years of their life. When you eliminate a course, when you eliminate a teacher, you are eliminating opportunities for students. If you pull someone out of our departments, it is not just taking the number of students in the building and the number of classrooms that are open and quick division and putting them in those places. The building of a master schedule is incredibly complex. It isn't just pushing a button, there it is, and it's all done. Our schedule, and this is the way it should be, is driven by student requests. So in a couple of months from now, when our program of studies is ready and students are reviewing that, they'll request what they want for next year, what they want for the next step toward the rest of their lives. If you eliminate a position, let's say a kid wants to participate in a year one or a year two Hewitt program, most of those students, as I allude to in this, and there's a big long narrative. Michael gave me a suggestion that if I'm going to write this up, do a bullet point section 2. So it's more or less the same lessons in there, or the same messages behind these, but I would ask that you read it all. If a kid who is a junior or a senior, and those are most of our students who are participating in the Wick Center or the Hewitt Center, are heading off, they still need graduation requirements that are offered in our building. So if there is one section where we can send a student for a year one program at the Hewitt Center, that might mean that they are out of the building for blocks 3 and 4 of our day. We can't have a senior leave for 2 blocks of the day when the only time we offer English 12 is either block 3 or block 4. We have to offer it when they are actually in our building. Otherwise, they have to make a decision of whether they are going to get their graduation requirements or pursue the rest of their lives. So when you look at those class numbers, and I know it is very tempting to look at those numbers that I provided to you and say, oh, look, there's a class of 8 and there's a class of 16. This is block 1, this is block 3. Gee, that'd be easy. All they have to do is make a class of 24. You put all those kids together. But that's not how it works, because we have departments of 1. We have 1 music teacher. We have 1 fine arts teacher. We have 1 business teacher. We essentially have 1 STEM teacher, although yes, he is listed as a member of our math department, We have a teacher who is doing STEM, computer programming, aviation, astronomy, things like that. We have no one else who teaches those things. So those are offered one time. So if a student wants to participate at the Hewitt, every class that is only offered during that time is off the board for those students. They already have to make decisions. They have to make tough decisions. Some of our students are very fortunate. They waved a magic wand and somehow all of a sudden everything that they wanted fits into their schedule and it works out and everything is sunshine and lollipops. But our school counseling departments have conversations with kids every single year about, I would love to do, is there any way that I can fit this into my schedule? No, you can't. You have to have a tough conversation. An AP class that is lined up with band. Which one do you want to do? You can't do both. If you want to do the Hewitt, if you want to do this, if you want to do that, as soon as you cross a name of a faculty member off of our list, I need you to understand you are crossing opportunities off for students, and it's not just the classes that they teach. It is the flexibility that we can offer so kids can have a personalized education and take the next steps into their lives. And it is important. That's why I do what I do. That's why everybody does what they do in our classrooms. So kids are scared. They're asking questions, which I'm very proud of them. I just needed you to have the context. Question?
How many kids are taking advantage of Hewitt this year?
Well, just under 70.
Okay. And I know you can't imagine, but based on past growth, can you imagine where that might lead to next year?
So we had a big jump this year because the Winnisquam Career, so it's not just the Hewitt, it's the Winnisquam Career Center too. So we send 3 buses of students to the Hewitt Center every day. There's we call it run 1, run 2, run 3, right? Run 2, when that Hewitt run goes, we also have a bus that goes to Tilton and brings kids to the Winnisquam Career Center. Part of our jump this year is that they created new programs and they totally revamped their programming over in the Winnisquam Center. So it's a tough year to gauge whether we're going to see a similar jump to next year because we saw a big one this year because it's full new programming.
Yeah.
Right. What I'll say is there's a regional advisory board for the Hewitt Center and the Winnisquam Career Center reps come to that as well. Michael and I both serve on that. And when we go, we see these lists of schools that are enrolling in these programs. We are, in terms of ascending school, so Laconia has a huge number, right? Like they literally walk from one building to the next building and they're in that program. We are consistently either the number 1 or the number 2 sending school of all the schools that participate in those programs. So we are very active in that.
So we're 70 this year, but it wouldn't be unreasonable. It could be 70 or 100 next year. Like there's no way to really know.
It's not.
Okay.
One of the things that was incorporated into the operating budget this year, which is, obviously what's sitting in front of everyone, is an increase in those tuition costs and, an increase in the transportation. The transportation is just a little bit more expensive. We don't necessarily think we're going to send another bus, but, who knows?
Is Hewitt charging a per student rate?
Correct.
They are.
Because we pay tuition for those students to participate there.
Right.
And so that's why that line increased for next year is that if the growth continues, even if it's not the same level of growth as we've seen in this past year or two, it's still going to be more money.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to say that part of that constraint that you were talking about when students trying to make their schedule is majorly being done because of the current schedule
I would disagree.
system that we have.
It's not accurate. No.
It's we have a 4-class schedule that really makes it a strain when we're trying to set up a schedule for the.
But it's 4 courses per semester. So I know that has been discussed as well. So if you have 6 or 7 block schedule, I know those numbers have been thrown around. I created, and actually it was something that my student leadership team, Brass, has taken a look at, or some of them have taken a look at it. It would be a greater level of interruption if we went to more blocks during the day. And also, those classes you're looking at being year-long classes. So if you're looking at 6 classes or 7 classes for the year, that's not 8 blocks, which is what we offer now.
No,
the numbers don't match.
So, and once again, when I talk about the changing the schedule, we're talking about switching over to a semester-based 6 or 7 class period,
Then you're
Okay,
cutting,
instead of a year long?
then you're cutting instructional time down to about
Yes.
60% of the
Yeah.
actual time
Yeah.
with additional requirements by things like DD 306 that our teachers have to get through in terms of content.
Yeah.
So you're giving them more requirements, less time, and more students that they're going to interact with every single day. Because if you are teaching 5 of 6 blocks or 6 of 7 blocks, which, not to mention the fact that becomes a CBA conversation, you have 100 to 120 kids coming through your classroom. How do you get the feedback back to those kids?
So I think the discussion about the schedule is very important, but
Sure.
I want to focus on the budget
Sure.
first, because we need to have a separate discussion about the schedule, but there's no way we can roll that into the budget at the same time. So I understand the concerns. We are going to talk about it, to add to the agenda down the road, but right now I want to keep things just budget.
I have a kind of an enrollment question just for numbers. I personally run into more kids nowadays who are graduating early, whether that be after their first semester of senior year or some even a full year. Do you have any idea how many we're on track to finish early this year?
It's all has to be by request, right?
Yeah, so do you-
So there's one student who is requesting to graduate a year early, just one
Yeah.
from the junior class.
Yeah.
Whether or not that is approved, is still yet to be seen, but there's one. Early completers in terms of midway through senior year. This is an estimate. I don't know exactly the number, but you're looking at probably in the neighborhood of 8.
Thank you.
It's not, you're not talking 30 kids.
More questions?
I think the high school math position, so the piece we talked about last time, I get that it's not these are low hanging fruit, cut it type of thing. I hear what you're saying, but it's really hard when we're looking at 6 teachers, and I know one of them teaches STEM and all of that, but that person is certified and has taught math classes also. It's hard for me to justify when we have such high taxes. Just being completely honest, like everything everybody has said, I don't want to cut anything.
Yeah.
That's the truth, right? Like if I thought we could afford all of this, I personally don't even think we can afford a default budget, the residents, I'm talking about the residents, which includes me. So for me, I would like to know, from a school counseling perspective, the impact of reducing one of the 6 math teachers, moving them to the middle school. Because when I look at some of this, it would still allow for us to still offer most of the classes.
So one of the challenging aspects of this is what I was saying about our schedule is driven by student requests. So the best you can get is an estimate or, kind of a best guess. Because if we have students who are all clamoring for a particular course, we're going to try to get that course in our schedule. And if there's something else that's lower, we've had courses in the past that we decided not to run because there wasn't enough student interest. So year to year, there's some fluctuation too.
So I understand that. My children are now young adults,
Yeah.
all faced that. I think anyone who's had a student at the high school has faced scheduling challenges.
Yeah.
But truthfully, by that rationale, we should actually add teachers. Which
I'm not here to propose that at the moment.
no, I'm just saying, I feel it, just so I'm saying me personally, like, this is not a fun time to be like, all of these things are really important. And so I'm looking at not wanting to riff teachers. So my lens, and I said this 2 weeks ago, was if we had a retirement of a math teacher at the middle school, we could move one from the high school. I know that's not popular, I totally get, but I'm just saying we have to do something because we can't keep it how it is. So I appreciate, the students have been amazing. I have some of the same worries, but I don't know what then we're supposed to do.
My professional position is to look out for the faculty, staff, and students of our high school.
I get it.
So I'm coming to tell you that this is going to have a negative impact on our kids. And I can't let the conversation happen without just making sure that not only do you hear that from me, but also you have some of the context
Right.
of how that happens.
And I get that, but to talk about quantifiable, I don't actually know what the impact is because it's all driven by student requests. But that doesn't tell me anything. I'm just saying if I'm looking at metrics, because I know things are driven by student requests and my own kids couldn't still get courses they wanted. So I don't know how to,
Right.
just so you know,
Yep.
Matt, that's where I'm struggling.
Right. And like I said, every year already, kids have those tough conversations. I'm telling you, it will be exponentially worse removing more people. The more that are getting removed, the more of a challenge that will become.
So what's
There's no perfect way to do it.
curious suggestions that you have. Because to be honest with you, I also saw you wanted to have us add back in the school work, which I'd love to do too. But if we add potentially back in the school work, if we add back in like all of these other things, truthfully, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like,
And again,
it's really
I'm speaking from the perspective that we want to personalize kids' education so that way they can be best prepared for the future. The reason that I asked for an expansion of the school to work is that I believe that helps them. Having as many teachers as we have now, we build a schedule that we're able to make work for our students so they can take the next steps.
So, my back's to you, I'm sorry, I feel rude. I like Michelle's question, but just to further it from our point of view, and I'm not a board member, so I don't get to vote. I sit on the town's budget committee. Most of my parents live in Belmont because I've got multiple. One of the things we're working really hard here at is to propose a budget that the community is going to embrace on the first round and not stand up and have somebody make a motion on the floor for a $2 million cut and have that pass. That's why we've had all these discussions and trying to get down, like, we understand that it stinks. Insert a different word there if we weren't on TV, right? Nobody here wants to do that. And so if there are other suggestions, because the price increase is something that the communities have been telling us that they're not going to stand for. And I just want you to know that's where we're coming from.
Yeah.
Is that's one of our fears as a group sitting here, that somebody's going to stand up and say, I've got a petition here and we want to just slash the budget. Last year they asked by 5%? I don't know. But like by $2 million. And then we're in a worse position than if we've done the hard work. So if there's another, because we can't all get everything that we want that's in here. If you have another suggestion, please.
I don't take the role or the job that you have personally. I recognize that it's a very difficult conversation and these are very difficult or decisions to come to. I can't not give the context that the decisions that you're weighing have impacts across the board. And it is not there's nothing simple to it.
Okay. And so we talked break. You had to choose. You mentioned staff stability and people comfortable that if they come here, they can work for a number of years. Risk definitely get in the way of that as a ripple effect. So if you had to choose, but Michelle's point, if you have a retirement, you choose to fill that retirement by moving some teachers around. Yes, it clips some of the students' opportunity. On the other hand, does that have a huge negative impact on staff retention qualitatively? I know you don't know that till you do it, but it seems like you're still carrying the message with your staff. Look, we're going to do everything we can to avoid risk. We want to have a stable work environment. But we're also having to adjust to financial realities that the parents are dealing with.
Which is your position. I'm speaking on behalf of the school.
Yeah.
So I would say don't do it. From my position, I want our faculty and staff to be stable and to be, enjoy the work that we do if they work hard for our students, and I want students to have opportunities.
I know this just left, but for me, I'm not just worried about someone standing up and cutting the budget. I'm actually worried about the cost of our default budget, which I know we can't do anything about because it's the default budget, but I'm worried about the tax impact in the default budget, which is why I'm looking at what we
we could do with this budget. I just want to be clear, that's my lens. It's not just somebody standing up and cutting, suggesting we cut.
So I was excited to hear that there were like 70 students, and let's project perhaps it could grow up to 100 because of excitement and opportunities. I mean, I'm looking for ways that we can actually maybe bring money in. And I think that there's an opportunity here that, like, I would even volunteer to do a lot of the work, but to reach out to electricians and plumbers and hairdressers and everybody where we have students going into those programs and ask them to sponsor a student. So I did the quick math based on what was approved for the budget this year. Like, let's say it was exactly 70 kids. It's like $55,600 a kid. So to ask, this electrician business, would you sponsor a kid? And what they get is that, the kid writes them a thank you letter and maybe has a t-shirt with their logo on it, like the race car drivers do, but like, maybe that's a way we can bring more money in, because we're helping to train the workforce that these small businesses will be pulling from and benefiting from. So that might be a way to kind of get some money in, get money in. Another way to get money in is we have buildings that are empty sometimes, either on school breaks or summer vacations, and maybe we can work with nonprofits or for-profit businesses that need to be able to use a gym for a while and charge them for that kind of stuff. Like if we have the physical building, maybe the times of the year where it's not being used as much, incurs janitorial fees, of course, but let's brainstorm of ways we can bring money in to offset the crunch that we have.
Other feedback.
So I like that idea, but I don't. I have to imagine if a business owner was gonna sponsor a student to go to a trade, they're gonna want a photo of those kids in that t-shirt. It's gonna be on their website. Like, to me, there needs to be a vetting process. You don't want these kids being used as promotional materials for people that may not be the most reputable. So that would be my concern. I think it's a great idea in theory, but I think there's.
Well, I invite you to come up with ways to bring more money in too, like use this as a challenge to come up with better.
I mean, I think through the conversation tonight, the juggling act is, as a board, how do we represent the students to give them an education that's going to work for them? How do we represent the taxpayers that aren't going to get walloped basically a year from now, because the vote in March has nothing to do with the June tax bill, and people have short, very very short memories. This is where administrators, and I appreciate the time, effort, and energy. But we may need to get creative, and everything might not be able to be puppy dogs in roses. It's tough. It's great hearing from students, and we were all sitting there. I want to say, geez, I remember the Arthur Horan years, in Belmont, and calling students dumb. Belmont education was good for him, and so now we're mad at, as a student. I remember being mad at the taxpayers because the taxpayers weren't funding the school. Well, guess what? I wasn't paying the bills back then.
You know that many of us have no idea.
Well, I saw a bunch of people.
It's,
Arthur Horan years.
It'll be another time, Michelle, another time.
But at the end of the at the end of the day, it's a conflict for us as parents and as previous students coming full circle, and having to pay the bills, for the students. And none of this is easy. None of these conversations are easy, and none of the decisions that we're making are easy. So as a student, if we as a board make a decision that that you're not overly happy with, it wasn't because we don't like students.
I completely see your point of view. I get that, from a tax point, that you guys aren't just here to represent the students. You're here to also represent the taxpayers who are like giving the money to the schools, and you have to also make them happy to keep your position as a school board member. And I also see that students, like when you guys were all students, you had people paying for you, and I understand it's a way higher inflated. It's a lot more money now than it was then, but also like that's just something. It's more than it's higher up than we are with that growth. Is that's going to continue growing? The healthcare next year, if that increases, and we cut teachers this year, I mean, next year, what you're going to have to do is cut even more teachers, and then we're going to be left with like nothing. And also to your point about the sponsoring students and with the plumbers or Hewitt stuff, yeah, we like they're going to expect that these students go on and they go on and become like work for them. And it's just that's not realistic. The people I talk to, like if someone sponsors me in high school, that doesn't mean I'm going to go work for them after. I mean, I want to move. I want to see the rest of the country. I want to experience that, and I wouldn't want to be stuck feeling pressured having to work for a certain person who helped me get to where I am.
Yeah, and I don't think expectation is there that you have to go work for them, but it's an opportunity to introduce summer internships or part-time employment, like relationships can be built. And I see when I go to the ice rink, all the advertisements on the banners, and this is just another way for local businesses to advertise. And they need a workforce. A lot of people are retiring. So what a great way to, get connected with the upcoming workforce.
So Jen, that's a separate item is the advertisement piece of bringing in revenue for advertisement compared to utilizing our students as billboards. It's just, I see Henry's point, and I also see Randy's point. You're vetting people that potentially are putting a patch on a shirt that a student might wear, and to use our students as billboards, I can't support that.
Well, I think we can
However,
talk about the patronage. It's about trying to bring in money, and if we can, it doesn't have to be a patch on a shirt. It can be a big thank you banner and all the patches on it.
I was gonna say, it could be more of, I've sponsored the program in general.
Yeah.
And it could be a thank you somewhere within the graduation pamphlet or something at the school and not specific to the kids, because some people are very protective and don't want their kids' pictures anywhere.
Right.
And that can be respected, but it should probably be more from a standpoint of, I'm helping everyone and not just, I'm gonna use your example, not just Henry.
Right.
I'm gonna help everybody here at the table, and I had a little piece in that, look at it from that point.
And we currently do that to say offset the cost for yearbooks. So we have, advertisements in there and so forth. And so we can look at it that way compared to utilizing students as advertisements.
Yeah, sure. That sounds so dirty when you say it that way, but I was trying to.
That's how I feel about it, right? It's like,
No, I'm just trying to
ask Henry to put a patch on here because, we're going to bring in $100.
No, but if we can pay for 70 or 100 kids tuition with partnering with local businesses that will be looking for talent, it could be a windfall around.
So just so you know, we do that without sponsorship. So we make connections with local businesses. We do internships with local businesses. We have students that go and work for those local businesses. So that happens now. So just be aware that is already happening. There's just not.
We just want to make revenue.
We just want to bring in some money after
Bring in some money.
I'd also like to add, by increasing the school to work ladies' hours, this will also increase the chances for students to get internships, summer jobs, and things like that. Because she's here 2 days a week. She's in high school 2 days a week, I think. And I mean, there's not enough time for her to interact with all of the students and help them get these internships. And I feel like that would be a more ethical way to get these students internships than asking people for money for the school and then saying, we'll try to get you these students if you give us money and they'll work for you.
All right, I just want to be clear because it's getting all dirty and I look like a bad person. All I'm saying is we find partnerships to help pay for the Hewitt program and Hewitt transportation because that's an easy sell. we can go find 70 group companies to maybe help donate towards it. That's all. And I came up with bad examples in my limited,
There are no bad ideas.
but I think we could find 70. We could find 70 sponsors.
I appreciate your creativity. I mean, like, I also think like this school is a business. I mean, there's money and there has to be money. Like, I get it, but also like, I feel like there's more. I don't know. I wasn't trying to say like that your ideas are dirty or whatever. I was just like, there's better solutions. I feel like, and I mean, we have those solutions if we go with this budget increase. And I understand the taxpayer. It isn't exactly the taxpayer's fault, but we will be able to have better contributing members of our community who are able to, like, who will be paying these taxes in 5 years, 10 years. They will be the next generation to be doing this.
Yeah, but I think you articulated beautifully. When you said next year, we're going to be having the same discussion. I mean, you totally nailed it. And that's why I'm trying to jar myself and jar other people. Like, let's think differently. Let's do something. Let's reach around and bring something into the discussion that we hadn't even considered before. So we're not doing this next year. Let's solve it.
So to echo what she said, Henry, you articulate yourself very well. And, you know, I would be bright red and stuttering, and you do a great job. Thank you for your input. It's not that your taxpayers don't want to do it by any means. Some people can't. And what we are seeing, just to reiterate back to the budget, we are still trying to get our budget to a point where we're not going to have somebody walk in and make that big cut and make things worse. We're trying to show the taxpayers that we hear that you're unhappy with the rates and do the least amount of damage, for lack of a better word, to the offerings for the students. Thank you for your time and being here. It's really cool.
I guess I worded that a little. It's not what I meant. It's not that they don't want to. I meant more that they can't afford it and they're not able to.
Totally good.
All right. I actually have a question. Last meeting, we got the tax rate proposed. I can't remember. Was that like increases in home rent taxes? Was that based on a certain budget number?
That was based on the original proposed budget, yes.
7.092. Yep.
Yep.
What was the, I didn't understand the topic, but I understand the question. But I put relating to the price of the house, the bottom line is the building. So, trying to understand the house valuation goes up, that's not necessarily a big.
No, just to be clear, I want to add everything back into the budget, talk about 10% increase. But, boy, I'm looking at a $400,000 home, and let's be honest, the valuation has gone up significantly, so even my home's probably worth more than that.
Well, so.
I mean, I'm looking at, $600 increase in just the school portion, not the county. So I'm expecting my taxes are going to go up significantly. And I'm trying to find that line where, can we make the taxes go down less than $700 or the average person, or do we just go with that and wing it a public hearing and wing it at the deliberative session and see what happens? That's part of me wants to go into the wrong number, 3.9% increase. Everybody's 50% of the people there, maybe more, are going to be really mad at us. 50% of the people are going to be really mad at us because it's too high or too low. I always joke to people that ask me, how can you go on the school board? I go, half the people hit me for this reason and half the other reason. That means I'm doing a good job, like right in the middle. And I feel like I want to have a proposed budget where there's still going to be people unhappy, but we can bust our butt at those hearings, at the deliberative sessions, explain why we got to the point we did, all the hours we spent, and sell it as, you can't make an additional cut. We've already cut a ton of stuff out of this. The other option is we just go with the 7.2 and see what happens. I will be honest, if we stay at the 7.2, I'm not gonna be the only one standing up there trying to fund the budget. I'm gonna make sure that everybody has a chance to do that, because that sucks. Being a person up there trying to sell a 7.2 budget, when the back of your head, you're not sure. No, it's not a decision.
So I go back to Sean, it doesn't affect the state. I don't think we need to do health insurance is still this. And you talk about the risk pool as small as it is, we're not gonna get out from underneath it, right? And I realize the board can't change that, it's a state level, so I'm willing to try to, I don't understand insurance, but they need to start thinking, how do we put together a strategy? Go to the legislature or other avenues, start working with private law. Because everybody's point, you're back again, what happens to the beneficial way.
Another very real possibility is that on voting day, we have a ton of voters that don't like a 3.9% increase, and it's no, and then we're doing a default, which is higher than what was originally proposed. So that is a very real possibility. With that, especially if there's a large reduction proposed in the public hearing, and that somehow moves forward to the vote. If there's even more people upset with that, then we're back to a default, which then we all take our binders and throw them up in the air right now. Because, what we attempted to do didn't work out.
I just want to clarify, I'm not suggesting cutting no benefits, operations, what I am suggesting not to distribute plus. If we don't expand the risk pools, limited understanding I have insurance, I'm gonna struggle with this loss. You're gonna struggle with anybody, but the growth rate of that just took my breath into this. Anyway.
So Jay brings up a very valid point. Every time we get a fresh copy of this list, my mind always goes down until we get to 1.2 million, which is our health insurance. And I know that there's nothing that we can do about that now, and that we're constantly told like it's all because of the collective bargaining agreement. And I am the biggest supporter of teachers, and I am the biggest supporter of everyone having health insurance. But we need to get some flexibility in that language to allow us to shop the limited options we have. That's my biggest piece of advice to the board is we shoot ourselves in the foot with wording. So how can we make both sides happy and also have flexibility? Because I bet the teachers don't want this. The students don't want this. You guys don't want this. The taxpayers don't want this.
Guess, I have a question as to what you're saying. Are you saying as far as a plan?
Yeah. When we asked if we could look elsewhere, we were told we couldn't because it's in the collective bargaining agreement. So whether you can offer the same type of plan, but not limit yourself to the company you choose. Could
Saying, so rather than saying school care in the collective bargaining agreement, saying healthcare provider.
And then you gotta be able to, as I understand insurance is, you said it was based on.
Sorry, did what?
I understood you to say the risk pool for health insurance is $340. It's a small issue. You're right, the amount of claims is just a drive the premiums up as long as business. So it's
Yep. But again, all of that's negotiated potentially, so it would have to be an agreement. And then the voters would have to.
so. You know,
Right, I'm just saying, like, I think it's great to look at ideas, but that would be whoever negotiates and the C board and then for the SREA. But yeah.
I'll speak.
Just gonna bring us to this. I mean, the board has done, and the advisory budget committee has done quite a bit of work. It's made some tough decisions all the way up to this point. I just want to bring us back to what's being discussed. I think it's important. What you have here this evening is an updated budget sheet based on decisions that have been made up to this point. So some of the things that the board
decided upon last meeting have been included in the board majority budget cuts section. So I just want to go through that. What was added last meeting specifically when we start talking about support staff step only, non-affiliated support staff at 2%, administration at the flat 1,325 and specialists at 2%, the 0.3 CESP teacher, filling the high school Spanish teacher with a new hire, and eliminating the instructional design coach position with the intent that that person moves to the Canterbury Elementary School 5th grade position. And then the board also agreed to the additional admin cuts. So the board right now is at the 3.91% if you were to move forward with the items that have been discussed from that point up. I do want to make sure that I'm expressing my opinion that the board reconsiders, particularly the support staff step only, the non-affiliated support staff at 2%, and the administrators, the flat 1,325 and specialists at 2%. I want you to reconsider those salary wage increases, particularly when both towns are discussing their current budgets. Canterbury, based on looking at their proposed budget and doing the math, Canterbury is recommending 8.3% for wage increases on the town side. This is math based on looking at the proposed Canterbury budget, as well as in Belmont, it's 4% across the board for all personnel. That includes administration and department heads. And Belmont has been in a default budget for 2 years now. And the Board of Selectmen did approve a 2.5% increase even in a default budget. So for the school board to sort of align themselves with what the town is proposing, you're off, where some of these increases are less than 2%. So I want the board to reconsider those salary and wage increases for support staff as well as administrators and specialists, something to reconsider. My initial proposal was 5% for support staff and 2.9% for administrators and specialists. So I got that information, wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that, particularly because both the school and the town budgets impact taxes, and those are the percentages that are being discussed on the town side in both towns. So that's where we're at this point, 3.91%. And where we left off last meeting was specific to looking at the math positions, not only at the high school, but at the middle school.
So is it kind of talk about that PE feature for CES? Right, like I said on the last meeting, with the problem that it creates between the one teacher trying to teach over there and trying to commute over here, it's going to create a lot of problems, especially as we look at other positions down the line that can make a bigger impact. Then we can see how, it says like bumps, elementary teacher, them and the elementary schools trying to place their schedule to meet the new PE structure, going to create more problems along the way. So I think it's quite beneficial to keep the CES elementary teacher here so that we don't have a commuting person and both schools have to restructure their PE time. Because that's what I understood from the instructional problems that the principal was going to face.
I agree. I'd like to consider putting that one back in. And can I make a motion to add that back in?
No, everything's anything, just majority voted. I'm just thinking because, as you look down the line, there's other positions that have a bigger impact on the budget. We need to see how there's a shift. And
so are you proposing with teachers down below? Like, I don't understand what you're saying.
Eventually we're going to get there, right? Look in that area.
I'm not getting there personally.
Well,
But
I was looking at that area.
other stuff will. But I would rather have our PE teacher go to both schools than to Costa.
Well, I think also if we have a PE teacher, I feel that are told, because it comes down to that, right?
I mean,
The current job position says that they're supposed to be teaching at Belmont Elementary, and being told that they have not given you, it's not your original contract?
No, right now we have a separate PE teacher for both buildings.
Yeah, no, but by removing the CES, now the Belmont person has to be told that they have to come here in order to do their job, right?
That's correct.
But I guess I could make the case if we're gonna cut some elementary teachers, basically get rid of us. We're gonna have less classes at the elementary school, so it'd actually be easier to help them. Like, it doesn't make sense. I would never, me personally, I can't get down to the SREA RIF section while adding, a part-time position here. Do it.
I mean, from what I understand reading this, it says 7th, 8th grade math lab bumps elementary teacher, which means that the middle school person becomes the elementary.
That's correct.
Right,
correct,
and then we lay off an elementary teacher.
Yeah, but
That's what that means. Right? Michael?
Correct.
Right. So it means it bumps, so you take the
Yeah.
7th and 8th. I'm not interested in looking at this, let me be clear,
I
but,
just-
but that's what it means. So it means it bumps, so the 7th, 8th grade lab moves to the elementary school, which rips the elementary teacher.
And we have 3 of them.
Yeah. I'm just saying the impact on the instructional time and all this scheduling, the 16,000 kind of seems when there's other positions that have a more universal impact on the budget.
Why do we have to go further to rent this? If we decide to keep the elementary school, the CES PE teacher, it's a part-time position. We heard the discussion about what it would do to the schedule. I don't think taking something further from CES is gonna be helpful. And I don't think we should be ripping either.
Because eventually, at some point, right, the back and forth is gonna have to stop. Because that person might leave and then you have to try to hire somebody and tell them the same thing. So I'm just looking at positions that can actually be a long-term impact on the budget instead of we're gonna have this position back in a year or two because the person can't do it anymore.
Well, I want to tell you where I was at last week. We stopped before we got to where I wanted to go. Because we weren't going to cut any people. I don't want to cut them. Because I was in a position one time, and that sucks. But you have a teacher retiring in the middle school, and you're taking that high school teacher, you're not cutting the high school teacher, you're moving the high school teacher to the middle school. You're not cutting anyone. And you're taking money off the budget. You're cutting a position, not a person. So that's where I was going to stop. So it's on the SAR rift. I don't think it belongs there because that person's not going to be in there. You're not cutting a person, you're cutting a position. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. I do not want to go any further than that. That's where I'm
There's
at.
somebody in that position.
They're retiring and they're being switched to the middle school. They're not being fired, they're being offered to go to the middle school. We have to be responsible. Sure, we'd love to give our kids 400 teachers. But come on. At some point, we have to stop. You can't grow every year. This is getting out of control. And I don't want it to get out of control because it's affecting everybody. It affects, you talk about the children. Well, it affects the parents. If the parents are busting their butt and not spending any time or taking vacations with their kids, that's affecting their kids. And you're worried about the school. Yeah. They might get a couple less classes, which is, I know, terrible, but what's the alternative? Have the people move out of town or close on their houses? I mean, at some point we have to be fiscally responsible. And we're doing that. And like they said, someone could come up to town meeting and be like, Manchester did that. It was 10% or something like that, $9 million.
Yeah.
So then we have to cut people, actual people, not positions of people. And I don't want to get to the point of cutting people. We're cutting a position. Because when that person retires, there's no one in that position. We take that extra, because Michelle said we have 6, well, technically 6, but only 5, and we put them in the middle school. And then there you go. You haven't cut anyone. Yeah, it sucks, but that's where I'm at.
But to go on, sure.
I'd just like to say, yeah, that sounds amazing and all, but when you move a high school teacher down to the middle school, they applied to be a high school teacher. They want to be a high school teacher. If they wanted to be a middle school teacher, they would have become a middle school teacher. And if he was gonna, like, why wouldn't that teacher just look for another high school position? I mean, we were talking earlier about how there's so many open positions right now. Why wouldn't they just go to another school? And then also, like, yeah, with taxes going up, people might want to move out, but having an education system where it's the quality of students' education is decreasing, people aren't going to want to live here either. My aunt had to move to Plymouth because the high school wasn't accredited for college back in the late 80s, early 90s. So, I mean, if that happened again, we're going to have people moving out of town. And the exact same things can happen. So on either end of the scale, it's not good outcome.
100%. None of it's a good outcome. Our numbers are going down because the only people affording to buy new houses currently in Belmont are people retiring from New York and Connecticut that are paying, and they're not bringing kids into and they really don't care about the education system because they're not utilizing it. My concern here is for the kids and our taxpayers to have an elderly parent whose tax bill went up $700 before this happens. That's a lot when you live on Social Security. We don't want to displace people from their homes. We need to be more fiscally responsible. And we used to use the word a lot, creative. This is nothing we want, but how do we, like at home, when I was raising young kids, how do you do the same thing with less? How do you reinvent things because money is tighter? That's what I would like to see start to happen as we need to shift things around, because it's not until I 100% know that the way the state is funding education is why we're in this problem. And until that starts to change, we're going to be sitting at this table having the same discussion. But what we do with it in the meantime for the best of all parties. And I don't like to see the change, but somebody's retiring, and I would like all those positions that are retired to look at, hey, what's a creative way that we can and sometimes it might be that you can offer kids more by putting people in different jobs or changing things. I appreciate the look at that, and I agree with what Mr. Roberts said.
So to piggyback on both Jeff and Tracy, I took every single one of the classes, and you can apply this to any department, of math offerings in both semester 1 and semester 2, and put them into, put them into blocks with every single student number, and we have every single class being offered with decent student numbers, 15, 17, 10, 16, with one less faculty member within this department. And this was something that I spoke about on the first night. And I understand it's not fun to talk about a reduction in force, but it is a position. And I know we probably know some of them personally, but it doesn't even take a whole lot of creativity to not have a student impact for course offerings, to actually offer additional course offerings, because within this right here, there's still free holes that you could add at Algebra 1 or an advanced math or pre-calc or whatever you want to jam in there. And again, we can apply this to any department. And as a board, when we struggle with what's good for the student and what's good for the taxpayer, if we can not impact or impact very slightly on what's being offered to the student while helping out the taxpayer, I don't understand how multiple board members can sit here and just say, I don't want to riff. I don't even want to discuss that. I think it's irresponsible.
I fear you did not hear what the administrator said when they talked to us earlier. Because they absolutely said that there is more to scheduling than just simply putting it into the class. It has to do with when it falls within the kids' schedules. It has all of that. So I don't think that just putting it down there is exactly going to fix the problem. Honestly, I don't, it's not.
Right, but I've been in a position where I've had to work schedules and I've had to build them. And so I bring some of that experience to the table.
So this goes back to, man, what's the priority here, given the resources budget? To your point, Alice, I was thinking about the very thing. Now, if the priority is, all right, we're gonna affect some students' opportunities on things we want to take. Let's take Hewitt though. That's the priority. We want to be able to have the seniors and juniors be able to go to Hewitt if it's, right? In my mind, that's pretty important. Now, the structure of the core courses required for graduation, so for that population of students that's available in the earlier blocks, then the numbers might fit close to what Mark's saying. I don't know. But it does mean somebody may not be able to take some other optional courses. Because now, to your point, Alice, can't fit it.
I think it's not just somebody, I think it's a lot of somebody.
Well, I think we're kind of, the board, not me, but it sounds like you're wrestling with that decision. You may have to make a priority. We're gonna prioritize Hewitt as an example and prioritize the courses to be able to have the credits to graduate.
If we're meeting if we can meet their priority courses to graduate, that's here. Being for every high school student to take every class they want to take should not even be on anybody's mind, because it doesn't happen. There's always going to be one that they wish they could have taken, but hey, something else was there. They're never, and it's a great lesson going forward to college, because that's not going to happen either. It's really not going. So you offer them the most that you can with the funds that you have, and sometimes it's making those, as the principal said, they're making their tough decision. What is more important to you in going where you think you want to go in life? No, that should not be the goal of this board, to give every child every single class. Then we would have our taxes would be going up even more. We need to meet where they need to be and offer as many extra things as we can while being cognizant of your fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers.
I feel like, I mean, I know I don't speak for everybody, but I know as a student, I can't get every single class I want. But I don't feel like that's what the concern is. I feel like what the concern is yes, I have classes I'm required to graduate with, but colleges require more than the high school requirement. And those are electives. And if those are no longer offered, that decreases my chances of getting into colleges. I mean, looking at it even beyond, like Hewitt, you get so much more chances to get into schools. I mean, not schools, to get into the workforce from Hewitt. I mean, you get opportunities to work with real people. You get opportunities to do that. You get opportunities to. People have job offers straight out of high school because of Hewitt. I mean, there's people who work in Hewitt who are also running.
Changing the offer for Hewitt is not an option. It's not on the table. That's like state that's offered, just so long as you know that.
And
okay. That's not changing at all.
But I'm saying that if you're gonna have to choose between graduating and taking Hewitt, I mean, at that point, if I'm going to be a plumber or an electrician or any of that, I'd choose Hewitt over my graduating credits. I mean, you'd have, because that's what's going to be my job. I mean, if I was in Hewitt, I'd see that as more valuable than English 12. I mean, because right now,
that's the responsibility.
Choosing between one or the other.
That's not what I'm saying, Henry. I'm saying that we can't offer every kid absolutely everything. We need to focus on doing both. I know I'm old to you. My kids both graduated from Belmont. They're both doing really well. And you are blessed to have so many more AP classes than they had. My oldest is a biomedical engineer. Just rolled out a surgical robot. There were no robotics offered at Belmont. There were 2 AP classes offered, period. But if we give you the best foundation we can at any given time as they move, you will make happen what you want to make happen. So with taking your into consideration and the taxpayers is where we have to, I hope you don't take any of this personally by any of the conversations going on here. None of them are towards any particular teacher. It's all about being responsible to everybody.
I feel like it's most responsible to give every student the opportunity that they can receive while in high school, while it's still free to them. I mean, my AP classes, I pay $200 and I take the test and I can get a college credit for that. And going to college, I mean, going into a college, it's thousands of dollars to take a class. And I feel like if we can offer these, it's more responsible to offer these classes because, again, like everyone's been saying, there are people who are struggling in Belmont, and that's not just retired people. I mean, that's people who are sending their children to these schools. And if you can offer these classes that make it cheaper for you to go to college and graduate from college and get advanced degrees, then I feel like it's irresponsible to like get rid of these classes. It's not only hurting tax, it's hurting children, and it's going to hurt their futures because they are at less of an advantage than other students. I mean, if I was at college, I'd rather pick a kid who had taken the AP classes than the kid who had taken the requirements because their school didn't offer the APs.
Edgar.
Yes, going back to this, teacher at CES.
So, I'll tell you, I'm not right now in a position to bring anything back at the moment, just where I am considering anything. But if Michael's wanting us to reconsider raises and those types of things, I don't feel like I have all the information related to decision making at this point in time. I'm not saying I'm not considering it, bringing it back. I'm just telling you where I'm at.
What else do you feel like you need?
Well, I need to know, are we gonna fill I'm not interested in
I'm
risk.
just trying to understand so they can.
So I wanna know,
Get there.
I wanna know what we're dealing with. We just extended potentially the SREA retirement pieces. How does that factor in? Because we can't add all this, in my opinion, we can't add all of these things back in if we're not also looking at what we're gonna take out, in my opinion. I am willing to look at any of it. I'm just telling you where I'm at right now. We don't even have, I just wanna put this on there, I don't think we've made a decision about the SRO for next year, and that's not on here. I already told you where I was at from the perspective of, I think the default budget's too high, we can't do anything about that. So I wanna look at everything, and I don't have a holding.
Can I just get clarification on the SRO? Is that here or not? Like, is it in the budget or not in the budget?
The board did make a consensus decision a few meetings ago to take it off this list. However, everything that has been taken off is still, all of it is still in play until you come up with your vote for a final budget. I would agree with Michelle. I can't necessarily imagine the board would take any action on this, particularly if we get additional retirements, what the board wants to do with that. What's the cost impact on a budget at that point? That's why you're having a meeting next Tuesday. For me, it's just a matter of sort of getting an idea as to, if I was sitting as a board member, what's your comfort level with where you're at right now, which is a 3.91% increase. And take that into consideration when you go into your meeting next Tuesday.
Can I just
And then
add
everything's on the table still, if you want to keep that number.
One option is, I keep hearing people say they don't want to risk teachers, staff. Can we maybe work from the bottom up and decide, can we just get this off the table now, one way or the other? SREA reference section, bottom section. We have a majority of the board don't want to touch those.
Yeah, the only weird one on here is because it's an offset, so under retirement, it has BHS 7th grade, not filled with BHS teacher. And then under RIP, you have BHS 1 math teacher moves to BMS. So right, but I'm just saying. No, but what I'm saying is,
I see what you're saying. It's in a different location, so it looks like we didn't go down to that spot, right?
yeah, I'm just saying it's here. Because we would be saying potentially, I mean, that's the only one I would consider.
So how about you take it up to that position and get all those other items off the table, if that's what you want to do.
Do we have a majority of the board that would like to do that? Very comfortable to read?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Zero. Yes, yes, yes. So we're not cutting people. I'll look in your input. I just want to make sure we get this cleared up tonight. We're not cutting, we're not riffing, sitting.
Right,
I don't know how else to word it.
So as for next Tuesday, you're working between 7.09% and 3.67%.
But that could change. If you get more retirements, it could go up, right? If somebody leaves with a lot of time and seniority.
There'll
that-
still be a savings, it just depends on how much.
Okay. Can I ask a question before you go on real quick?
I just want, I'm curious, I'm waiting too. So
Mine was about what he said about the SRO.
Me
Did you
too.
cut it or did you, because I thought it got cut.
I'm
all a little confused.
I didn't understand, I remember, and I'll go back to the notes. I remember us saying you should proceed with them knowing we don't know what we're gonna do.
That's what we did.
With that, to me, didn't mean we took it off the list.
Yes. Yeah, so I thought it was still on this list, or should be.
We can put it back on for next Tuesday.
So
Sure,
we'll hire it up for discussion Tuesday.
not a problem.
I went back to when it was like,
No idea.
I just wanted to get clarity on what was agreed, because there was mumbling going on. So I just didn't want to come to Tuesday. And then because of what it comes down to is not a percentage, right? It's a set number that you gotta say in the, I remember what it's called, to pass.
The warrant?
It's a number you gotta say instead of a percentage.
Correct.
So I just wanted to have an understanding of what you guys agreed on when you said you wouldn't touch this decision, because there was some mumbling going on, so I didn't know who was agreeing to what.
I thought we had majority of the board say we do not want to touch those positions.
What those was.
The bottom 7 positions, they do not want to cut because those are people in those positions. So where it says the 7-8 math lab bumps elementary teacher from there down,
They're down.
those are off the table.
Correct. That's what the majority.
6 out of 7 that agreed to that.
And then I think we need to see what happens as of.
Sounds like a plan.
is there a number in here that we can go back and look at, Michael, with your ask for the consideration, go back and look at the salaries? Which date of this list, so that we could just know the amount that it would change?
For which?
For what?
To reconsider the administrators, the raises, the salary raises.
Yeah, so if you look at what you have in front of you, Tracy, this first, the.
So that would be, represents the entire amount.
That's what would go
Okay.
back in.
All right, thank you.
That would go back in, which is part of the original proposed budget.
Okay, I see that. So what, we had a couple different versions of theirs along the way.
Brandy,
I'm not gonna be able to be here next week, but I just wanted to leave you with a parting thought. There's a lot of conversations about the deliberative session and people potentially coming and proposing a cut. If you go too far, you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot, because I think that regardless of what you do here, I think even if you went all the way to the bottom, someone's still gonna come and do that. And that's based on things that I've heard around this table. So I just want to stress that the further you go, the worse it could be. That's
The feedback. All right. Yes, you like that? Thank you.
Say 6 o'clock. And
Next Tuesday, 6 o'clock here. December and well.
Do you need any students?
Done.
Thank you. What year are you in high school?
I'm a junior right now.
Great, thank you so much.
Of course.
Michael,
want these?
while they were here, we didn't touch on the draft warrant articles. So we'll have to talk about that.
Okay. So just table that till next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, well, we have the board. Want to make sure they have some feedback as well. I mean, we can touch on it.
Yeah, we can touch on it, but again, you're not gonna take any action this evening, so it'll be fine opportunity to talk about that next Tuesday. But you do have your draft warrant articles in front of you.
And the big change is the building and the ground, right?
Correct. Which we discussed at building the ground, potentially increase that amount to at least plug away at individual units along the way if necessary. So I mean, even based on the conversations we've been having this year, I don't see them changing much for the following years, but to bring forward a big $12 million project, I can't see that happening. So I think we're gonna have to really focus on plugging away at some of those units as we go along.
So I'll just ask my annual, why are we adding to the special education expendable trust again when we never used it? And I understand costs go up, but at some point, like, why? It's just
Didn't
a
we
cost.
cut it in half last year?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, and we have or retain fund balance for emergencies like that as well.
Just hearing that so many districts are having people move in with high-cost students and they don't have enough in their expendable trust or in their budgets to cover it. That's the only reason I put it back on the warrant again. But certainly up to the board if you choose not to have that on.
So I just want to touch on this tonight. I'm not going to make any decision. If you have questions, now might be a good time and talk. That was my only real concern is I want to keep things as short as.
Yep. Yeah, just a reaction to what's going on throughout the state and districts are finding themselves in financial, even though they have expendable trust funds.
What is ours right now? I can look it up, but I thought you know it off the top of your head.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Come on, Debbie.
I know, I'm so disappointed in myself.
$371,000 as of June 30th.
No.
370.
371.
Oh. Thanks.
All right. Any discussion on the warrant articles? Well, we're next. All right. On the horizon. I just gotta get through the budget stuff. I'm not even thinking about anything after Tuesday. So, do you have anything? I do think the open enrollment discussion is still worth having, just so we all kind of have some baseline. Because I agree, it's still very, very muddy. So that's something I might want to add at some point, but we're not going to get it on the warrant.
April 13th, you don't want to try it? So do you want us to meet then the 2 weeks from now and then over break? And
I mean, in theory, we could add it even after the public hearings too. We adjust the budget potentially. All right. Enrollment report.
Yeah, so you can see we, per request, I believe Sean, it was your request, we broke the enrollment report down by class sizes at the elementary level. Gives you an idea as to what those total class numbers are and also each individual class. Our district total as of the first of this month is 1,108 students. That's 4 students more than last month.
I'm sorry, I probably wasn't clear. Can we do that for the middle school as well?
That's, no, because all the kids in that one class rotate through multiple classes.
Yeah,
So you could look at class sizes that we provided.
And how is that different than what we did 9 years ago? We did it 9 years ago.
So
I don't think the layout of the middle school changed.
I don't recall that, so I don't recall doing the middle school classes.
maybe you can scan what you have,
Yeah.
email it to
It's,
myself.
it's in our package from, I was going through a little.
From 9 years ago?
Yeah. I'm looking at enrollment trends from 9 years, so that's as far back as we have electronically for packets, it's 2016.
Yeah.
So I was curious, and I went back and looked at it, it's like, oh, this enrollment report looks different.
If you could send me that, Sean, so I'd be curious as to how they put those numbers together, knowing that all students in one grade level rotate through. all
Might
of
have
it.
been homeroom.
Maybe
Might have been homeroom?
Yeah, it might have been homeroom.
I mean, there's, yeah, 4 for 5th grade, 4 for 6th grade, 5 for 7th grade, 5 for 8th grade. I don't know what that means.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
I'll send it to you.
Great.
All right, any questions on the enrollment report? Volunteer list.
Make a motion to approve the volunteer list, no days in the conditions.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Business administrator report.
So in the packet, I provided you with the financial report. I don't know if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to answer any you have. I did provide a breakdown at the end, some of the things that stood out that I anticipated some of the questions might be.
Yeah, I had questions, I put them in the packet, and I scrolled down, and I realized you answered. Yeah, so the final page was helpful as far as.
Very helpful, thank you.
Any questions on the financial report?
And I totally jumped over the school
Yeah.
care rates. Those have to be accepted to lock in for next year.
We don't have a choice, right?
Really, no. The only, I mean, yeah, you really don't have a choice.
I'm like,
You would have to, you'd have to go into some negotiations to reopen, to go out to find another carrier, and that you really don't have a choice.
Make a motion to accept school care health insurance rates for the 26-27 fiscal year.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good question. What Randy brought up about negotiations down the road. If we were to, don't spell out school care or whatever, would that would change this discussion,
It may. It depends. Typically, what you'll find in negotiated agreements is either a specified carrier or specified plans. So if you said that it would be a plan similar to certain deductibles, certain, it depends how you word it. So that's one of the things that a lot of times during negotiations, you may have parties come in from healthcare providers to talk to both groups, and then get some, if both groups are even interested or willing to negotiate and make changes. But those would be the ways typically to do it. It's either specify in the language the kind of coverage that needs to be provided, and then you are not tied to one particular vendor.
Because I picture these multiple vendors coming in, they might have basically the same plan, but they're never exactly the same.
Right, they're never
Something's gonna
exactly the
change,
same, right.
Good or bad.
Right, so it's the major features that you would talk about, certain level of deductible and certain level of co-insurance for prescriptions and things like that. You would focus on that kind of a language, so. Yeah, and right now, unless you go out to the private market, there's really only two carriers that are doing the pooled insurance. The third one is closed shop. So, but
So school districts, I'm not gonna say across New Hampshire, but most of New Hampshire, are they using one of those too?
Yep. There are a few very large school districts that are doing self-insurance, but you have to have a pretty substantial investment set aside to cover health insurance if you're doing a self-insured plan. There are districts that have tried self-insured plans before and could not maintain them, Laconia being one.
All right, you didn't have anything like for a general update or anything?
No.
All right, questions for Debbie? Nope. All right, superintendent report.
So under my report, you have the draft school calendar. It's an action item this evening. The draft, crazy to say, 26, 27 school calendar. So this is directly aligned with the Laconia school calendar, which majority of the school districts in the region that sends students to the Hewitt and the Winnie are running the same calendar. This will be the first year that we are directly aligned with the Laconia school district. So they actually made some changes based on what we had for our calendar. So I'm just looking to get the board to approve this calendar for the 26-27 school year. This does have us starting before Labor Day because Labor Day is on the 7th of September next year, which is late. And if we were to go to school starting after Labor Day, that puts us in school at the end of June. So you can see we start off with 2 teacher workshop days, then a 3-day weekend, and then students would start on the 31st of August and run a 4-day week, and then Labor Day is a 4-day weekend, and then the 8th is primary voting day in September. So we have voting in September, and we also have voting in November for midterms. Other than that, there are no changes to our current calendar. This year, we don't have the 8th on. We don't have that Tuesday in September.
You can sense that school districts are trying to start after Labor Day if the calendar allows.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, that's a big push to start after Labor Day, but when it's on the 7th,
That's tough. So I see a motion from the board to approve this.
Motion to accept the proposed 26-27 Shaker Regional School District school calendar.
Motion and a second. This went to the teachers union and everybody all on the same page.
What's that?
This went to the union as well.
Yes.
All right, motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? strategic
then
plan.
next, I just want to give the board an update on the strategic plan. This is the year we start our monitoring on our key performance indicators. We work with IBIS, the organization that helped us design the surveys for the original plan development, and work specifically with them. They helped us draft questions for surveys for both the staff, students, and families that align specifically with our key performance indicators. And we leaned on their expertise for developing questions that we could keep a short number of questions on the survey that address multiple indicators based on one question. So they developed those questions. We vetted those through the district support team with some wordsmithing. However, the context stayed the same based on the suggestion from the experienced contractual vendor that we worked with in order to put those together. So surveys we're looking to go out after the holiday to students, staff, and families. And then after budget season, we'll then survey the community about the budget process, which is part of our learning resources priority area.
What experience does the vendor have doing family surveys? Like, do any family members look at the survey from a perspective?
So he took it because he's worked in multiple districts, larger districts, and really just utilized sample survey questions that would go out to families in those multiple districts that would tie directly with our strategic plan and those key performance indicators. So we lean heavily on the experience of the others. So that's updated. Surveys are going to go out in January. We'll get some results at that point, and then we'll be able to put those results into our dashboard as the 25-26 results, as well as baseline for all of it.
I apologize for getting ahead, but do you anticipate that being the timeline? I assume we're doing this annually?
Do what? Sorry.
Doing the survey annually?
Yes, what I'm thinking is that we would utilize the same survey questions over the next 3 years.
Ask them at the same time.
And ask them at the same time. I did pose the question because we originally were planning on putting it out in December. I wanted to make sure that the gentleman's name is Roy, that's working with us, understood the major conversations that are happening around the budget at this point, and asked if this is a good time to put out a climate survey. He actually recommended that we continue to move forward with putting the survey out because the majority of the questions are around building level supports and so forth compared to district level supports, but also waiting for after the holidays when people can actually invest some time into it. It's pretty crazy right now for families during the holidays.
Other questions? All right, thank you.
You're welcome. That's all I have this evening.
Internal policy.
We have 3 policies that are up for a second reading. It's the alternative learning plan, summer activities, and advanced college placement. So that's the
Chair, make a motion that we accept IHBI, IHCA, and IHCE.
Second.
Second by Jeff. All those in favor of the motion, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Policies passed. Do we have a nomination? Just a quick question. Just one applicant, correct?
Yes. Fortunate.
Okay. Typically, how long is that position posted?
4 weeks?
Typically, or how long was this particular one posted for?
I guess this, I'm just curious, like, if we're only getting one applicant, we're giving people enough.
So the, it was open until filled, was how it was posted. And the original posting, went in. It was originally posted October 21st.
Can you refresh my memory? You put it in October 21st, and you don't, like, you put an end date or just,
So what I typically do is it depends what time of year it is and what the position is, but this one was put in as open until filled.
Yeah.
It automatically does go into review status, and I just keep reopening it.
so when you reopen it, does it kind of rise to the top of the list or, like, I know some programs, it'll basically, you will let it expire purposely so you can renew it, have it pop back up to the top. I didn't know if our application system.
Yeah, it does that.
Good to know. So, unless there's a question for non-public, we can approve that.
Make a motion to approve the nomination of the PBS teacher.
Second. Motion a second. Any other questions of a public nature? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Public communication and correspondence. Wish to speak?
Hi, I'm Brady Pucci. I'm a sophomore at the high school. I just want to say that taking away one of the math teachers is going to be hard for all of us students. I'm already struggling in one of my math classes. There's only 10 kids in it. If you take away one of the math teachers, it's going to raise the class sizes up to 15 maybe. And even then, it's hard for the teachers to come around and help you with only 10 kids. And I get that some people might not understand that it might not be a big change, that you're not taking away the position, but you're just simply moving the person, and you're not removing that person from a job. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, anyone else? All right, I do have superintendent evaluation. If people are interested in talking about that, or we can postpone it. It's up to you guys.
Postpone it till when? Next week?
Next time we meet. We're not going to meet a regular meeting until January, so I will be having a discussion.
Take a vote.